Mara Collins had imagined many strange things when she applied to the interplanetary exchange program, but she never imagined this. She sat on the edge of her small couch, suitcase at her feet, heartbeat thumping like a slow drum. In 10 minutes, she would meet the alien who would be her roommate for a full year. Most people would have backed out the moment they heard alien roommate, but Mara was not most people. She was a young engineer with a stubborn streak and a quiet wish to do something unforgettable with her life. When the program accepted her, she said yes without thinking twice. The exchange officials had told her very little, only that her roommate was from the Astrine Collective, a peaceful species known for their advanced knowledge and unusual curiosity. They also told her that the alien could be socially awkward, but harmless. Mara tried to remind herself of that now as she stared at the door, waiting for something not human to walk through. The apartment around her was tiny. 2 bedrooms, a shared living room, and a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people to stand at once. She had decorated her side of the living room with small plants, simple lights, and cozy blankets. It wasn't much, but it felt like home. Would the alien like it? Could aliens even like plants? Did aliens sit on couches? She wasn't sure. A short chime echoed through the hallway, 3 soft notes that meant someone had reached her door. Mara straightened, smoothing her shirt even though she knew it didn't matter. The door slid open. The tall, silver-skinned figure stepped inside, glowing faintly like polished metal warmed by sunlight. His shape was humanoid, but his movements were impossibly smooth, like every motion had been rehearsed. The bright violet eyes blinked at her wide, alert, intensely focused. "Greetings," the alien said, voice calm and echoing slightly. "I am Zero, scientific observer from the Astrine Collective. I have arrived for residential cohabitation." Mara forced a smile. "Hi, I'm Mara Collins, human, obviously." Zero tilted his head, studying her the way a scientist studies a rare insect, but without malice, only deep curiosity. "Your vocal tone suggests nervousness. Is this an emotional malfunction?" Mara blinked. No, humans get nervous when meeting new people, especially new people from space. "Ah, fascinating." Zero stepped inside fully and closed the door behind him. "I will add this to my developing dataset." Mara wasn't sure if she should laugh or worry. Zero carried no bags. Instead, a small floating orb drifted behind him. It hummed softly, projecting tiny lights in rotating patterns. He tapped the orb, and it expanded, unfolding into a sleek metal container. "This holds my belongings," Zero explained. "Compression technology. Quite efficient." Mara raised a brow. "Wish humans had that. Perhaps one day," Zero said with surprising encouragement. He began scanning the apartment with a handheld device. Blue lines spread across the walls, floor, and ceiling, as if the whole apartment had been dipped in starlight. What are you doing?" Mara asked, cataloging the habitat. Zero said, "I must ensure proper conditions for human thriving." "Am I what?" "Thriving," Zero repeated. "Your species demonstrates unusually high adaptability and survival traits. The collective requested I observe one human in a natural living environment to better understand the requirements for optimal development." Mara stared. "You mean like a school project?" Zero blinked slowly. "If by school you mean a high-level scientific board directing multi-species studies, then yes." Mara rubbed her forehead. This was already more complicated than she expected. Zero moved around the apartment with surprising speed. He scanned her plants, the couch, the kitchen sink, even the cereal box on the counter. "Humans consume an unbalanced nutrient mix," Zero remarked, staring at the cereal. "Sugared grains, interesting. It tastes good," Mara defended weakly. "Is taste essential to survival?" "No, but then unnecessary," Zero concluded. Mara sighed. She wasn't sure whether to argue or let him learn on his own. Zero finished scanning and turned to her. "Mara Collins, I must ask an important question." "Sure. Go ahead. Please describe your preferred breeding conditions." Mara choked on her own breath. "What?" Zero stepped back in alarm. "Are you malfunctioning?" "Your respiratory patterns, breeding," she repeated, waving her hands wildly. "Humans don't talk about that with strangers. and definitely not with roommates. Zero blinked twice, confused. But it is essential to the study. Optimal species development requires an understanding of environmental needs for growth. Mara stared at him. Zero, what do you think breeding means? Zero paused, then spoke slowly. Creating conditions for long-term species flourishing. Oh, Mara breathed, relief flooding her chest. You meant the ecological sense. Like nurturing, supporting growth. You weren't talking about. She stopped herself. Her face heated. Zero tilted his head again. Your coloration has shifted. Does this signify embarrassment? Let's just say yes, she muttered. Zero made a thoughtful hum. This is valuable data. Mara groaned. Great. The misunderstanding lingered awkwardly for a moment. Zero seemed unaware of how embarrassing his question had been. But Mara forced herself to calm down. This wasn't his fault. He simply didn't know human social boundaries. She took a deep breath. Okay, Zero. Humans don't use the word breeding casually. If you mean helping humans thrive, you can say living conditions or daily routine or something like that. Zero nodded seriously. I appreciate the correction. I aim to interact respectfully with your species. Well, that's good, she said. Zero moved to the living room and sat rather awkwardly on the edge of the couch. His posture was stiff, but his eyes scanned everything with intense curiosity. This is your habitation, he said. I wish to understand what allows humans to feel safe and comfortable. Mara relaxed slightly. This, at least, she could explain. Well, she said, sitting opposite him. Humans like places that feel warm and personal. We like soft things, pillows, blankets. And we like having choices. Choices? Yeah, freedom to range our space. Freedom to decide what we do. Zero processed this. So you do not function best under strict environmental control? Mara laughed. Definitely not. The floating orb beside Zero beeped. A holographic screen appeared, showing notes and diagrams. Zero spoke aloud as he typed. Humans prefer environments with sensory softness, emotional autonomy, and personalized territory. That's one way to put it. Zero nodded. Satisfied. For the first time since he entered the apartment, Mara felt herself relax. He wasn't dangerous, just very literal, and very curious. Maybe too curious. Zero stood again. Mara Collins, may I ask permission to observe your daily routine tomorrow? I wish to record natural human behavior in an uncontrolled environment. Mara hesitated. Like what kind of observation? Everything, Zero said cheerfully. Mara nearly choked again. Everything. No, not everything. Zero frowned. But it would greatly enhance scientific accuracy. Zero, she said, firm but calm. Humans have privacy. It's a big deal to us. You can observe some things, not everything. He paused, thinking, then nodded. I understand. I will adjust my methods. Mara exhaled in relief. Zero added, I appreciate your guidance. My previous attempts to study humans from afar were limited. What do you mean? Zero lifted his device, showing her a list of old Earth documentaries. These were my primary sources. Mara squinted. These are reality TV shows. Are they inaccurate? Extremely. Zero stared at the screen, deeply offended by the idea that he had studied false data. I was deceived. I will file a complaint with the collective. Mara snorted. Good luck with that. Zero looked around the apartment again, expression softening. Mara Collins, I believe this exchange will be enlightening. Mara smiled faintly. Me too. And as the artificial night lights dimmed, Mara realized something important. This alien might be strange, awkward, and dangerously curious, but he wasn't here to hurt her. He simply wanted to understand her world, and maybe, just maybe, the two of them would learn to understand each other. Mara Collins opened her eyes, stretched, and prepared to enjoy a quiet moment before facing the day. But the quiet moment did not survive. A sharp beep 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 echoed in her room, followed by the soft whir of something mechanical. She sat up quickly. A small drone hovered beside her bed, its glowing blue eye staring straight at her. Good morning, Mara Collins, the drone said in Zyral's calm voice. Your optimal wake-up time has arrived. Mara yelped and grabbed her pillow like a shield. Zero, why is there a robot in my room? Zero appeared in the doorway almost instantly, holding a datapad and wearing the same calm expression as always. This is a monitoring assistant. It will help me track your daily activities so I can better understand human thriving. What? Mara stared at the drone. Zero, we talked about privacy. Zero blinked, confused. Yes, that is why I programmed it not to record while you sleep. That is not the point. The drone beeped again. Please begin hydration cycle, it chimed. A cup of water extended from its side. Mara stared at it in disbelief. Hydration cycle? You mean drinking water? Correct, Zero said proudly. I prepared your morning routine. It includes hydration, nutritional intake, and a 15-minute stretch session to activate your muscles. No, Mara muttered, sliding out of bed. Humans don't follow strict routines like machines. Zero lifted the datapad. But humans benefit from structured habits. My research indicates your species performs better with order. Some humans, maybe, Mara argued. Not all, and definitely not me. Zero looked genuinely troubled. But I already reorganized the living area based on these calculations. Mara froze. You did what? She ran out of her room and into the living room. Man gasped. The apartment looked like a futuristic laboratory. Her couch had been replaced by a smooth, metallic seating pod. Her cozy blankets were neatly folded in an unfamiliar storage container. Her plants were organized in glowing hydroponic stands. The kitchen table had transformed into a sleek workstation, complete with screens displaying graphs, health charts, and Zyral's oddly artistic diagrams of human habits. What did you do? Mara whispered. Zero followed behind her, smiling as if he had achieved something great. I optimized the environment. Human thriving requires balance, efficiency, and controlled surroundings. Mara turned slowly. Zero, this looks like a spaceship. That was the goal, he said proudly. Your species adapted quickly to space habitats during early colonization attempts. Therefore, a semi-laboratory environment should improve your performance and emotional stability. Mara rubbed her temples. Zero, humans are not experiments. Incorrect, Zero said. At this moment, you were part of research. Study my study. Mara glared. Zero, you didn't even ask me. Zero hesitated, the pause long and thoughtful. I believe you would appreciate the improvement. Humans often seek better living conditions. Better for who? She demanded. Zero looked around the room. Better for thriving. She sighed deeply. Zero, this is your idea of thriving, not mine. The alien's expression fell slightly, not sadness exactly, but confusion mixed with realization. Before she could continue, the drone still following her made another cheerful beep. Nutritional cycle beginning. Please consume the morning ration. A tray slid out of the kitchen panel with a glowing cup of thick, beige liquid. Mara stared. What is this? A complete nutrient blend, Zero explained. It contains everything a human needs for proper development. Proteins, vitamins, minerals. It looks like melted plastic, Mara said flatly. I assure you, the flavor is neutral. That's even worse, she said. She moved toward the kitchen cabinet, hoping her cereal was still there. But when she opened the door, she froze. Every single food item she owned was gone, replaced with identical nutrient packs. Zero. Yes, where's my actual food? I recycled it. You what? It was unhealthy, Zero said calmly. The sugar content in your cereal alone, Zero. Mara threw her hands up. Humans don't live on nutrient goo. Food is supposed to make us happy. Zero blinked. Food makes humans happy? Yes. I was unaware. Zero tapped something on his datapad. This contradicts my earlier sources. Let me guess, Mara said dryly. Reality TV? Zero did not deny it. The breakfast battle. Mara spent the next 20 minutes explaining slowly and repeatedly that humans needed choices, freedom, and personal comfort. Zero listened carefully, but his logical mind struggled to process her chaotic preferences. You thrive in disorder? Zero asked, baffled. Not chaos, Mara corrected. Just flexibility. Space to breathe, move, and decide. But that is inefficient, Zero said. Mara sighed. Maybe, but humans are emotional. We do things not because they are efficient, but because they make us feel good. Zero stared at her as if she had said the sky was green. Emotion influences survival? Yes, Mara said. The drone hummed thoughtfully, almost as if it, too, was reconsidering its programming. Finally, Zero nodded. I understand. I must update the experiment. Mara relaxed briefly. Excellent. Zero continued. I will design new observation procedures based on your emotional reactions. Oh no, she whispered. The upgraded observation by afternoon. Zero had installed small glowing sensors along the walls. They measured air quality, temperature changes, movement patterns, and according to him, emotional frequency shifts. Mara tested one of the sensors with a poke. It beeped. Zero appeared instantly. Are you distressed? No, she said. I just touched it. Emotional data recorded. The sensor replied. Mara sighed again. Her life was now full of beeping devices. Zero approached her with a small pad. Mara Collins, please complete this questionnaire. She scanned the list. Do you experience emotional fluctuation when reorganizing your environment? Rate your comfort level when denied choices. How often do you express frustration through vocal noise? Mara stared. Zero. Are you studying me or writing a comedy show? Zero looked genuinely confused. Both would be informative. She handed the pad back. I'm not filling this out. Zero frowned an odd sight on his sharp features. But accurate data. Zero. She said patiently, you're trying too hard. Humans aren't test subjects. We're individuals. Zero considered this. So, each human thrives under different conditions. Yes? And my attempt to create universal improvements was flawed? Very flawed, she said as Zero processed the information slowly, as if adjusting a formula inside his mind. Mara Collins, he said at last, I apologize. My methods may have caused you distress. Mara softened. It's okay. You're learning. Zero nodded. Then please allow me to ask one more question. Fine. Shoot. What conditions make you thrive? Mara paused. Zero's eyes glowed faintly, not with cold analysis, but with genuine curiosity. You really want to know? She asked. Yes, he said simply. So she told him. She explained her love for a cozy space. Warm lights, soft blankets, real food, creative messes, and freedom to make her own choices. She told him humans were not machines. They grew through mistakes, chaos, and exploration. Zero listened closely, his posture relaxed for the first time since arriving. When she finished, he nodded slowly. Thank you, Mara Collins. This information is much more valuable than my earlier data. Mara smiled faintly. See, that's how humans work. You learn by talking to us, not by turning our home into a science lab. Zero looked around the room. Would you like me to restore your environment? Yes, she said immediately. I will begin now. And to her surprise, Zero didn't use scanners or drones this time. He used his hands, clumsy, careful, and oddly gentle as he moved furniture back, removed sensors, and returned her plants for the first time. The apartment felt like home again. A new understanding glared that evening. When everything was back to normal, Mara sat on the couch while Zero stood nearby, observing her with a calm, thoughtful expression. Mara Collins, he said softly, I must inform you of something. What's that? I submitted our apartment to the collective yesterday. They may request an inspection in the near future. Mara froze. Inspection? Yes. A review of the human thriving habitat. Mara stared at him in horror. Zero, we are not ready for aliens to audit my apartment. Zero blinked. I assumed you would be pleased. This will help them understand your species better. Mara groaned. Zero, you have no idea what chaos you've started. Zero tilted his head. Then I will learn, for a moment. They simply stared at each other, an alien scientist and a frustrated human, both standing at the edge of a much bigger adventure. Neither knew what the collective would bring. Neither knew how wild things were about to get. But one thing was certain. Life with an alien roommate would never, ever be boring. For the first time since Zero moved in, the apartment felt somewhat normal. Mara could breathe again. The nutrient goo machine was unplugged. The drone was locked inside Zero's storage container. And the weird glowing sensors had been Remove mostly. One stubborn sensor stayed stuck to the ceiling above the TV. Zero claimed it was harmless, but Mara didn't trust anything that blinked every 30 seconds like it had a secret life. Still, compared to yesterday's chaos, things were peaceful. Mara sat on her couch with a bowl of real cereal, actual cereal, not nutrient gel, and sighed in relief as she took each bite. Zero sat opposite her, studying her like she was performing a heroic task. Your emotional levels appear stabilized. I'm eating cereal, Zero, Mara said, not achieving enlightenment. It is still impressive, he replied seriously. Mara rolled her eyes, but she smiled. Peace didn't last long. Zyral's orb beeped. A hologram flashed into existence, showing a message written in elegant alien symbols. Zyral's expression shifted from calm to something like worry. His violet eyes brightened. The collective has responded, he said. Mara froze mid-bite. Responded to what? The evaluation request. They have scheduled an audit. Mara dropped her spoon. Already? Yes, Zero said. They will arrive in approximately 49 hours, Zero. Mara jumped up. You can't let alien auditors into my apartment. They'll expect some kind of perfect science lab habitat. That is true, Zero said, and we don't have that anymore. That is also true, and they'll think humans like chaos. That is likely. Mara groaned into her hands. This is a disaster. Zero looked genuinely apologetic. I did not intend to cause distress. I only wanted them to understand your species. Well, Mara muttered, they're about to understand something. She paced back and forth, heart pounding. She imagined tall, strict aliens entering the room and inspecting every item she owned. They would find soft pillows, uneven stacks of books, mismatched mugs, and a kitchen drawer full of random tools she always meant to organize. What if they judged humans based on her apartment alone? What if they wrote a report saying humans were messy, emotional, chaotic creatures who couldn't follow simple instructions? Well, actually, that last part might be accurate, Mara Collins, Zero said softly. Perhaps we can prepare the apartment together. She looked up. He sounded sincere. Prepare it how? She asked. Zero considered this. We should demonstrate your natural strengths, which are resourcefulness, adaptability, creativity, emotional resilience, and your ability to improvise. Mara paused. Are you saying we should show them what humans do best? Yes, Zero said firmly. Not perfection. Authentic thriving. Mara blinked. Wow, that's actually pretty smart. I have been studying your species, Zero said proudly. Mara grinned. Okay, Zero. Let's do it. Let's show them humanity at its finest. Preparations begin. Next 2 days transformed the apartment, but not into a pristine lab. Instead, it became something new, something balanced between human creativity and alien clarity. Mara made a checklist. Cozy lighting, personal decorations, functional tools, a comfortable workspace. Evidence of human problem-solving. Snackshroll made his own checklist. Safety, compliance, structural organization, clean airflow, emergency response systems. Emotional stability readings 0, Mara said. Looking over his list, you don't have to measure my emotions during the audit. I disagree. 0 said. Your emotional reactions may be the most educational part, she sighed. Fine, but no drones watching me. Understood, he said. 1 drone will watch from the next room. 0. 0 drones, thank you. They worked together all day. 0 used his technology to fix loose cables, repair cracks in the wall, and adjust the temperature flow so the apartment no longer felt like a refrigerator in the morning and a dessert at night. Mara reorganized shelves, added small drawings, cleaned the kitchen, and placed a few personal inventions around the room like her homemade mini-gravity lamp and recycled metal figurines. 0 stared at each object with deep fascination. These items, he said. You created them yourself? Yeah, Mara said. Humans like making things. It feels good. 0 picked up the gravity lamp gently. Your improvisation skills exceed my calculations. That's a compliment, right? An extraordinary one. They continued preparing until late evening. A human lesson next morning. Mara woke up early. She found 0 in the kitchen, staring at a frying pan with deep concentration. "What are you doing?" she asked, attempting to cook food. He said proudly. Mara's eyes widened in horror. "Cyril, step away from the stove. I am attempting to replicate your breakfast ritual. Cooking appears to involve controlled heat application. Cyril, no." Before she could pull him back, Cyril flipped the pancake dot, or attempted to. The pancake flew across the room and hit the wall with a sad splap. Cyril stared at it. "This is harder than I expected." Mara burst out laughing, the kind of laughter she couldn't hold in even if she tried. Cyril blinked in confusion. "Are you malfunctioning?" he asked. "No," she said, wiping her eyes. "This is just really funny." Cyril looked at the pancake on the wall again. "I failed to understand the humor." "That's okay," Mara said. "Humans laugh at mistakes sometimes. It makes things lighter." "Lighter?" Cyril repeated. Mara nodded. "Humor helps us survive. I must record this," Cyril said thoughtfully. But as he typed into his datapad, he paused. Mara Collins. "Would the auditors judge me for this failure?" She blinked. "What? No. It's just a pancake." Cyril lowered his head slightly. "I wish to represent my species well." Mara softened. This was the first time Cyril sounded truly unsure. "You've done great," she said gently. "You're trying. That's what matters. Humans don't expect perfection." Cyril looked at her with glowing eyes. "I understand." Slowly. "That's okay," Mara said. "Humans learn slowly too." Cyril looked surprised. "You? But your species adapts so fast." "We do," Mara said. "But we make mistakes every day, and we grow from them." Cyril absorbed this information, his expression warming. Mara Collins. He said softly, "Your species is extraordinary." She smiled. "Wait until the auditors see us." The night before the audit evening, everything was ready. The apartment was clean but not sterile, artistic but not messy, balanced between humanity and alien structure. Mara sat on the couch with Cyril beside her. They watched the ceiling sensor blink, then blink again. Cyril broke the silence. "Mara Collins, yeah, I have spent many cycles studying humans from afar, but living with one is far more informative." Mara smiled. "You've learned a lot." "Yes." Cyril paused. "But I fear the collective may not understand you as I do." Mara turned toward him. "Then we'll make them understand." Cyril's eyes brightened. "Together." "Yeah," she said. "Together." The drone inside Cyril's container beeped. Muffled but excited. "Please ignore that," Cyril said quickly. Mara laughed. The audit approached the next morning. The sky outside the apartment turned faintly purple, a sign that a shuttle was entering atmosphere. Cyril stood by the window, straight-backed and composed, but Mara saw the nervous twitch in his hands. "Mara Collins." He said quietly, "The auditors have arrived." Mara inhaled sharply. She wasn't ready. Cyril wasn't ready. The apartment wasn't ready. But humanity? Humanity was always ready. She stood tall. "Okay, Cyril," she said. "Let's show them what a human can do." Cyril nodded. "And what an alien can learn." The door chime sounded 3 soft notes. The audit had begun. Mara swallowed hard. Cyril stood beside her, shoulders tense, eyes glowing slightly brighter than usual. The air in the apartment felt heavy, like even the walls were holding their breath. "Mara Collins." Cyril said quietly, "Once the door opens, please remember, they are here to learn, not to judge." "That doesn't make it any less scary," Mara whispered back. The door slid open. 3 aliens stood in the hallway, all silver blue beings shaped like Cyril, but older, sterner, and far more intimidating. Their long, shimmering robes made them look like floating mirrors. Their eyes glowed with sharp intelligence, scanning every detail as if the entire universe was under observation. The one in the center stepped forward. "I'm Archivist Lorraine, senior auditor of the Austrian Collective," they announced. Their voice carried the weight of centuries. "We will now begin the inspection." Mara gulped. Cyril bowed deeply. "Welcome, honored auditors. This human is Mara Collins, the subject of my study." Mara managed a stiff wave. "Hi, welcome to my apartment." The auditors entered without a word. Immediately, their devices activated thin, floating holographic screens that projected detailed maps of the room, the air quality, the temperature, and even Zyral's emotional readings. Archivist Lorraine inspected the room with a cold, analytical stare. Primitive, cluttered, visually chaotic. Mara felt her cheeks heat. Excuse me, what does primitive mean? The auditor blinked slowly. Unstructured, inefficient, predictably human. Zero flinched. Archivist, with respect. This environment represents human thriving conditions. We will determine that. Lorraine cut and sharply dot another auditor. Virat stepped forward and poked one of Mara's potted plants. These life forms serve no nutritional purpose. Why does the human keep them? Mara stepped closer protectively. They make me feel good. They're pretty. Humans like nature around them. Virat blinked in surprise. Emotional objects? Yes, Mara said. Plants are not objects. Virat wrote something on her data pad like Mara had said something revolutionary. The third auditor, Kelf, scanned her drawings and messy shelf of inventions. This appears disorganized. It's called creative space, Mara said. Humans use it to express ideas. Kelf frowned. Ideas do not require disorder. Ideas require structure. Not for humans, Mara shot back. We think in different ways. Zero stepped forward. Honored auditors, I request you allow Mara Collins to demonstrate human creativity. The auditors paused. Lorraine narrowed their eyes. Very well. Proceed. The demonstration Mara inhaled deeply. Okay. First, come here. She guided them to her small workshop corner. Tools, gears, scraps of metal, and wires sat in loose piles, but not chaotic piles, in Mara piles. Piles she understood. She picked up a half-finished device from the desk. This, Mara said, is something I made using old parts. It's a mini emergency lamp powered by magnetic force. I built it when my apartment lost power last year. Lorraine examined it, but it is crude. Yeah, Mara said, because I build it fast. Humans use what they have. We solve problems with whatever we can find. She tapped the device. The little lamp flicked on soft. Warm light glowing from the metal shell. Virat's eyes widened. This was crafted from scrap? Exactly, Mara said proudly. Humans adapt. We make things even when conditions aren't perfect. Kelf bent down to inspect the lamp closer. Your methods are unconventional. That's just a polite way of saying messy, Mara said. But yes, humans learn by doing, by trying things, by failing. Zero nodded. I witnessed this myself. Her process is unpredictable but effective. Mara continued. We don't need perfect tools. We need freedom to figure things out. Lorraine tilted their head. And what role do emotions play in this? Improvisation? Everything, Mara replied. Humans get inspired, angry, frustrated, excited. Our feelings help us solve problems. The auditors exchanged shocked glances, as if she confessed that humans use chaos as fuel. Impossible, Virat said. Emotion distracts. Not for us, Mara insisted. Sometimes emotion is what pushes us to keep going when everything else fails. Zero stepped forward. I can confirm. Mara Collins fixed a major power failure yesterday while under mild emotional distress. She acted with impressive speed. The auditors stared. Mara realized something important. They weren't judging her. They were trying to understand her. The apartment test archivist Lorraine tapped a command on their device. We will now test the habitat's functionality. Before Mara or Zero could ask what that meant, the auditors activated a series of environmental challenges. The lights flickered. The temperature dropped. A soft alarm beeped in the kitchen. One of the ceiling pipes rattled out. Mara stared in disbelief. You're making the apartment malfunction on purpose. Yes, Lorraine said calmly. We must observe how the human responds to stress. Zero looked horrified. Honored auditors, is this necessary? It is essential, Lorraine replied. Mara sighed and rolled up her sleeves. Fine, if you want to see humans adapt, watch closely. The first problem, the kitchen sensor was malfunctioning, triggering a false fire alarm. Mara grabbed a screwdriver, climbed onto a stool, and opened the panel. Sometimes sensors are too sensitive, she explained. You just need to reset them manually. The alarm stopped. The auditors wrote rapidly on their holographic screens. The second problem, the heater froze the air. Dropping the temperature, Mara rushed to the control panel. Old building. Bad wiring. Typical human problem. She tightened a loose connector inside the panel. Warm air flowed again. The auditors murmured quietly. Astonished, the third problem. The lights flickered because of a failing circuit. Mara connected to wires with a quick twist. There, fixed. Virat raised a hand. Human Mara, how do you know how to do this without precise tools? Mara shrugged. Experience. Humans learn by necessity. Kelt stepped closer. Do you not fear making mistakes? All the time, Mara said honestly. But fear doesn't stop us. Cyril watched with awe. This is why I chose Mara Collins. She represents the unpredictable potential of her species. The auditors stared at Mara differently, now less like a subject, more like a wonder. The moment of truth finally. Archivist Lorraine stepped forward. Human Mara, Lorraine said, voice softer than before. We understand Zyral's admiration for your species, but we require one final demonstration. Mara wiped her hands. Okay, what is it? Lorraine gestured around the room. Explain plainly what makes humans thrive. Mara took a breath. This was the moment. She spoke slowly. Clearly, humans thrive when we are allowed to choose our path, when we have room to create, fail, and try again. We thrive when we have comfort, but also challenge. When life is messy, but ours to shape. She glanced at Cyril. We thrive with connection too. When someone believes in us. When someone wants to understand us, not control us. Cyril's eyes glowed softly. Mara looked back at the auditors. We don't need perfect conditions. We need freedom. We need meaning. That's how humans survive anything. Silence filled the apartment. Then Lorraine lowered their head respectfully, astonishing. Virat stepped forward. Your species is more complex than we assumed. Kelth added, your creativity surpasses our predictions. Cyril straightened proudly. This is what I wish to show the collective. Lorraine nodded. You have succeeded. The audit is complete. Mara exhaled in relief. A new decision before leaving, Lorraine said. Human Mara, the collective invites you to share your knowledge on a larger scale. We request your assistance for future interspecies programs. Mara blinked. Me? Seriously? Your insight is valuable. Mara smiled slowly. I'd love to help. Zaryl's face lit up. The auditors bowed. We will report that humanity is a species worthy of respect. Mara's heart swelled. As the auditors left the apartment and the door slid shut, Cyril turned to her. Mara Collins. You changed their minds, she grinned. We changed their minds, Cyril nodded. Together, they both looked around the apartment, messy, warm, chaotic, human, and perfect in its own way. Mara sat on the couch, hands still slightly shaking from the adrenaline. Cyril stood near the window, staring out at the city lights with a thoughtful expression. His glowing eyes reflected the tiny lights like small stars floating inside him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Cyril turned to her. Mara Collins, he said gently, what you did today changed something bigger than you know. Mara let out a tired laugh. I just fixed a heater and told them humans like messy rooms. Cyril shook his head. No. You showed them what humanity truly is. You made them see your species with respect instead of caution. Mara leaned back. Well, I'm glad I didn't mess it up. Cyril studied her face. You did not just succeed. You exceeded every expectation. She felt warmth spread through her chest. Cyril wasn't just proud, he was relieved, grateful, and something else she couldn't quite name. Before she could ask, the door chimed again. Mara's eyes widened. Please don't tell me the auditors came back because I forgot to explain what a microwave is. Cyril smiled. No, this is different. The door slid open. This time, the hologram of the Austrian council appeared. A calm, shimmering light filled the room as multiple translucent figures formed. They were not physically present, but their presence still felt powerful. One of the holographic elders spoke. Human Mara Collins. Cyril of Astri. We have received the audit report. Mara froze. Cyril stepped forward respectfully. Honored Council, we are ready. The elder continued. The auditors report that the human demonstrates creativity, adaptability, and emotional complexity beyond our initial expectations. Your partnership has proven beneficial. Mara raised an eyebrow. Partnership? Is that what we're calling it now? Zero glanced at her. It is the most accurate term. Another elder added, we wish to extend a new offer to the human, one that may influence the future of interspecies relations. Mara straightened. Okay? I'm listening. The hologram brightened. We invite you, the elder said, to join the collective as a cultural advisor. You will help us understand humanity and guide all future interaction between humans and our kind. Mara blinked. She had expected maybe a thank you or a we will contact you later. Not this, a cultural advisor? She repeated, like a representative? Yes, the elder said. Your voice will help shape our future cooperation with Earth. Mara stared at Zero. Zero nodded slowly, his expression gentle. This is an honor very rarely given. They do not invite outsiders easily. Mara took a deep breath. If I accept, what happens next? You will travel to Astri, the elder replied. You will learn our ways, and we will learn yours. Zero will remain your guide during the transition. Mara's heart thudded. Astri. A real alien world. A whole different galaxy. Her mind filled with images towering crystal cities, glowing forests, floating platforms, strange creatures, and stars brighter than Earth's sky ever showed. It sounded impossible, overwhelming, amazing. The elders waited patiently. Mara finally found her voice. Can I think about it? Of course, the elders said. We will give you time. When you are ready, tell Zero. The holograms flickered and faded out, leaving the apartment silent again. The weight of a new future. Mara stood up and paced around the room, her hands shaking again, this time not from fear, but from the sheer size of the choice she had to make. Zero watched her with concern. Mara Collins, if this offer troubles you, you are under no obligation to accept. She spun toward him. Zero, this is huge. This is literally life-changing. Planet-changing. Yes, he said softly, which is why you must choose with clarity. Mara sat on the edge of the couch, rubbing her temples. If I leave Earth, she said, I leave my job, my friends, everything I know. But if I stay, I lose a chance to do something extraordinary. Zero walked over, sitting across from her. You would not lose Earth, he said. You would simply see more than it. Humans are explorers. You push boundaries. Perhaps this is another step. She looked up at him. You think I should go? Zero paused for a long moment. Then he answered with careful honesty. I think you should choose what gives your life meaning. But I also know this. You are not afraid of the unknown. You face it. You learn from it. That is why the council chose you. Mara felt a small smile tug at her lips. You always say things like that. They are true, he replied. She leaned back and stared at the ceiling. Part of me is excited. Part of me is terrified. Zero nodded. Both feelings are valid. Humans thrive in the space between fear and curiosity. Mara chuckled. That sounds like something I'd write on a poster. You could, Zero said, perfectly serious. She laughed harder. For a moment, that laughter filled the room, light and honest. Zero watched with the quiet admiration he always had. The last night on Earth. Maybe later that night, after hours of thinking, pacing, and staring at the city skyline through the window, Mara finally made tea and sat next to Zero. The room was calm. The city outside hummed softly. Zero, she said, can I ask you something personal? Of course. When you first came here, did you expect any of this to happen? Zero tilted his head. When I was assigned to study humans, I expected to learn basic behavior patterns, speech, movement, social habits. Nothing more. And now? Zero looked at her with a warmth she had only recently learned to recognize now. He said quietly, I believe I understand why humans have survived so much. You see potential where others see limits. You build connections even when there are differences. You change things. Simply by being yourselves. Mara felt her breath catch. She wasn't used to hearing things like that from anyone, much less from someone who wasn't even human. And you, Zero continued, have changed me. Mara swallowed. Zero, I don't know if I can do this without you. You do not have to, Zyril said softly. If you go to Astri, I will remain by your side. I am your guide. I am your partner in this. The word partner warmed her. Outside. The night deepened. Inside, something settled in her heart. She finally whispered, I think I know my answer. Zyril's eyes brightened. Then tell me. Mara took a deep breath. The decision I want to go, she said. Zyril went very still. Mara continued, her voice steady. I want to see Astri. I want to help your people understand us. And I want to understand you better too. Slowly, a soft, glowing smile formed on Zyril's face. Then I will prepare everything. The council will be pleased. Mara nodded. Let's do it. Let's take this step together. Together. Zyril echoed. He held out his hand gently in a strange gesture of unity she had learned only recently. Mara placed her hand in his. A warm pulse of energy traveled through her palm. It wasn't magic. It wasn't a trick. It was simply Zyril's way of saying I'm with you. For the first time. Mara truly felt it. This wasn't just her adventure. It was their beginning. The departure the next morning. The sky was painted with orange and rose colors. A quiet hum vibrated through the apartment as Zyril activated a small, hidden device he had kept with him from the start. A circular portal slowly opened, soft blue light swirling like calm water. Mara stepped forward. Backpack slung over her shoulder, heart pounding. Ready? Zyril asked. Not really, Mara said, grinning. But let's go anyway. Zyril extended his hand again. She took it. Together. They stepped through the light, and as the portal closed behind them, Mara felt a single, powerful truth settle inside her. Humanity's story wasn't ending. It was just beginning.